audio on demand from Vision Christian Media.
Exploring faith and the future. Neil Johnson and Bible teacher Dr. Kameel Majdali.
A wonderful journey so far talking about the culture war. In our last program, Kameel, we were talking about the way that we might become active and engage in the battle that is the culture war. And we talked about prayer as being one of the ways that we can most effectively begin to engage in the battle, because the battle is not just a temporal battle, but also a spiritual battle. What's so important about prayer?
Well, before I talk about the preeminent importance of prayer, let me remind our listeners that, first of all, this is not an optional thing that we can be neutral. The stakes are high. We need to get involved. It affects the schooling of our children. It affects the environment in the workplace. It affects the discourse in the public square, and it affects us, full stop. You cannot hide from it. You cannot run from it. We've learned that we need to be informed and educated on the issues, and we're called to be politically active. Although, again, I say clergy need to be careful. We're to preach on moral issues and values, but we're not to be partisan politicians. Having said that, prayer is of the paramount importance, and I believe battles have been won in the prayer closet before they were won in the public square. So the question, Neil, is what should we pray for? And I believe the first thing we should pray for, based on 2 Chronicles 7 and verse 14, the famous verse on revival, if my people who are called by my name shall humble themselves and pray, and seek my face, and turn from their wicked way, then from heaven will I hear, I will forgive their sins, I will heal their land. One of the great books on the culture war, written years ago, but incredibly insightful, basically said the same thing. If we're going to solve this problem, it's not just changing the politicians in an election. It's not just public policy. It's a revival, a spiritual revival. And I couldn't agree more. But remember, Neil, revival doesn't just come by wishful thinking. It comes by diligent seeking of the Almighty.
And when we do pray, Kameel, we're expecting for the hand of God to be moved, but we're also expecting for His life to be transforming us, to change. There's these elements that are an important part of preparing to be one who confronts these challenges in a culture war.
Well, that's right. And first of all, let's always bear in mind that ultimately this culture war is spiritual. The foundations, the underpinnings, the motivations are all spiritual. Now, people who are advocating for it may or may not personally be spiritual, but certainly the motivation behind them is. And because the core of the culture war is spiritual, then the solution is equally spiritual. That's where prayer for revival comes in. That's where dealing with spiritual principalities and powers and forces of darkness in high places, as described in Ephesians chapter 6, come to pass. Remember that the believing Christian who effectually and fervently prays, those prayers will avail much and can reconfigure the heavenlies above and therefore bring great blessing upon the earth.
Faith and the Future with Neil Johnson and Dr. Kameel Majdali from Teach All Nations. For more from Dr. Majdali, including books and DVDs on prophecy, Bible commentaries, plus today's and other episodes of Faith and the Future, go to vision.org.au.
Thanks for taking time to listen to this audio on demand from Vision Christian Media. To find out more about us, go to vision.org.au.